This podcast is part of the Batman Universe Podcast Network, hosted by the BatmanUniverse.net. Check out everything related to Batman and the entire Bat family at the BatmanUniverse.net, including news and original content related to comics, movies, television, merchandise, video games, and more. Also, check out some of the other unique podcasts that TBU has to offer. Consider supporting this podcast by becoming a patron on Patreon. Even $1 can go a long way in supporting this content that you enjoy. Look for a link over at the BatmanUniverse.net to offer your support now. And now, on with the show.
Another 80th anniversary episode for the boy wonder? What guest do you call upon? What topic will they choose? Commentary track? Hysterical laughter with podcast chatter? Everyone loves Batman 66. Stay tuned. The best is yet to come.
You don't like the Drake?
All out of sequence, so this could be 118, 119, 120. It's just an episode of the Drake. There we go. The show is brought to you by the BatmanUniverse.net, your home for all things Batman and Robin, whom of course is celebrating 80 years, and why this was a great idea at first. Now I'm doing a lot of juggling. This podcast is part of the Batman Universe Podcast Network. And speaking of networks, we're also associated with Batman on Films Podcast Network at BatmanPodcastNetwork.com. So you can get a hold of us through the Batman Universe, our primary site, and of course, Batman on Film. And a new thing that we have that I mentioned on Young Justice a little while ago in our long recording was we have a Blogspot page that I'm now 4 episodes behind, but I'm going to get off my butt soon. But you can read what I have posted so far at everyonelovesthedrake.blogspot.com. We're on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, but primarily on Twitter at ELTD Podcast. So for this one, this is part of our 80th anniversary special for Robin, and this one is a really cool episode. And I was just thinking when Terrence and Ryan and I put this promo together of all the different, things that people could pick, like nobody had picked this for the longest time. And I'm like, really? Nobody's going to want to do a commentary track? Okay, so we're doing a commentary track. So when our guest that we're going to introduce here in just a second picked this, I was like over the moon. It's like, do you mind if we do this? I'm like, dude, I don't care what episode, what season. It's just going to be fun to, A, not have to do a whole lot of homework for an episode, but B, it's Batman. What's not to like? But before we introduce our guest, we do have a Drake on the episode. Ryan, how are you doing tonight, sir?
I am doing fantastic, and I'm so excited to just jump on this and jump into the surf.
Ooh, get your boards out, folks. It's going to be crazy. And speaking of jumping on, like, you literally jumped on, like, what, 2 minutes ago?
Yeah.
2 minutes ago?
Yeah. Yeah, you did that classic podcaster thing where you're like, hey, we're going to record a show in like 5 minutes. Can you do you have all this stuff? Have you seen this show? Do you know what we're doing? And can you jump on and do a commentary? And I was like, actually, yeah. kind of like that when sometimes I recruit you for a BOF show, both of you guys for BOF shows. I'm just like for the Batman Ninja commentary. I was like, hey Rob, we're going to do Batman Ninja. Are you down?
And that was at like 11 o'clock. I just happened to get up, go to the bathroom, like, check my phone.
Right place,
and I
right
look
time.
down, and Ryan's like, hey, you want to get on? I'm like, when I can finish here, sure. So, without bearing the lead from the other Everyone Loves podcast, my other podcasting partner, Jay Yaws, is returning to Everyone Loves the Drake. So, we got a nice little, trifecta going on here. Jay's been on the Drake solo, but he's also been on Batman on Film with Ryan. So now to put all of us, I don't think all three of us have been on an episode together, but we've each been on BOF at different times. Like Ryan's been the constant with the two of us, so that the three of us can be on this is actually pretty cool.
I'm the constant, and you two guys are the variables.
That's right. So, Jay, welcome back to the Drake. It feels really weird to welcome a podcasting co-host that you and I literally just did something for the other show 2 minutes ago. So, what's up, Jay?
Hey, yeah, no. To Ryan's point, I was on the Batman on Film review episode of Detective Comics 1000, and he DM'd me on Twitter as I was about to jump in the shower.
So, I just catch you all doing, bathroom stuff, apparently.
So I was like, oh, yeah, I mean, I'd love to be on it, but I'm hopping in the shower, so can you wait 20 minutes? And then, jumped on there with you. I think it was Pete Vera, and who else was on that? I don't know. It was a couple of us.
Ryan Lauer, yeah.
Ryan Lauer was on there? Yeah.
Spelled like lower.
Yes. I didn't want to butcher his last name and say it was lower spelled like flower. So, but no, good conversation, good times and everything. So yeah, glad that Rob extended the invitation for me to be on one of these Robin 80th episodes, and I'm really excited to discuss what my magic pick here tonight.
Yeah, but before we get to Magic Pick, like I do with most of the guests on here, and Ryan's like, here's how the 80 of the show goes. Ready? Follow my lead. So I just wanted to ask, since this is the 80th anniversary of Robin, there's only one correct answer. Who is your favorite Robin? But
on this show,
we will. Yeah, on this show, but we will take alternate answers. But seriously, who is your favorite Robin? Let's get that out of the way. It doesn't have to be Tim, but it should
well and
be.
Truly, Tim Drake is my favorite Robin.
Excellent.
I think I've said it on this show too, but in case you forgot about it from last year or whenever that was, when I started getting into comics, really into comics, Tim was Robin, was already knee deep in the solo series that you guys have been covering. In fact, Legacy, which is one of the most recent episodes you guys did, that was one of the first big Batman stories I ever read. So that's kind of from right at the very beginning of my love of comics and Tim as Robin in particular. But no, I just Tim Drake, I love his personality and his solo stories as Robin. I mean, he was a Robin that proved that a quote unquote sidekick character could be a lead of their own series and carry it on their own, which was great. I mean, even as Robin himself, he is the boy wonder who set out to prove why Batman needed a partner, completely sold that concept and idea, and it may have been a pretty hard sell, especially back in the day. Tim has well and truly become his own character, even if he's using a shared moniker with other characters. He's definitely put his stamp on the Robin mantle himself, and I just love the character of Tim.
Cool. Now, a different varying question depending on how many times I've asked this. In today's day and age, is the need for a Robin still there? Everybody likes their Batman, grim and solo, but I always joke, for as solo as Batman, people like Batman to be, he sure has one of the largest families in DC. Do you still think there's still a need for a Batman and a Robin, or have the two kind of, branched out far enough that they don't necessarily need to be together anymore, or is it important for them to be together?
I mean, I like reading solo Batman stories. Like I just said, I like reading solo Robin stories because Tim has proven that he can carry his own title. Dick, as he's become, Nightwing and leader of, Teen Titans over the years and all sorts of things, he can carry his own stories and everything. So I like reading, solo stories with them. I mean, Batman and Robin is like one of the most recognizable like duos, like one of the most recognizable institutions in pop culture. I mean, if you have somebody try to complete a phrase and you say Batman and they're going to say Robin, they know what you're talking about. And I mean, even with the whole Batman works best as a solo character, he was a solo character for 11 months before Robin was
right.
introduced. So he really wasn't a solo character for very long. And even then, he was still working with like Commissioner Gordon and everything. So he still had a supporting cast that, has endured to this day. I mean, again, I like reading, just good stories featuring any character. But yeah. I do think there is something special there in good chemistry between Batman and Robin with the right writers, of course, but also just, when I started getting into all these characters and everything, the episodes of like Batman the Animated Series that would come on, the ones that would get me most excited were the ones with Robin in it, just because
it made it
fun.
Special when he wasn't in all of them. Right.
Yeah, and it made it definitely made it special, and it made it just just a different dynamic there with the dynamic duo. It's just really interesting and fun just seeing how Batman responds to another character who's there with him, fighting crime with him, and then just letting him, play off of somebody else. Because, one of the reasons that Robin was created was pretty much to, give Batman someone to talk to. I mean, there were a bunch of other reasons, but that's one of the, if not apocryphal reasons, it, makes complete sense. It's just fun seeing Batman interact with other characters, and Robin has been one of those mainstays for 80 years now.
Well, before we get to your pick, the last question with the 80 years is, why has Robin been able to last for 80 years? I mean, Batman's 1 year up on him at 81. You've got Batman and Wonder Woman and Robin and the Joker, and like these big characters that have lasted more than the flash in the pan. What has made Robin last as long as he has?
I do think that a lot of it is like at the time when Robin was introduced, and then going into times when with the comics code and everything, that Robin was almost a necessity. That certainly played into it, in making comics for kids and making sure that they're kid friendly and don't break a bunch of silly rules and everything. Having a character like that certainly helped that he was the first one and has become the template, but even from the beginning had a personality of his own and, felt like a character of his own. But kind of going into what we're going to talk about in a little bit for the medium that I picked here, I think the fact that Robin has been present in other mediums besides comics over the years, pretty much since the 40s, when they would start making movie serials, radio shows, even books and games and things like that. The fact that Robin has been a part of the conversation in things other than comics has definitely helped him endure as a character for 8 decades now.
Excellent. Well, I don't want to bury the lead anymore, and Ryan hasn't said anything in a while, so we got to get Ryan talking here. He's here. So I want to know why. I'm so glad you chose what you chose. So why don't you tell everybody why you chose this particular medium? And we've kind of said,
having said everything that we've just said, now explain yourself.
Now explain yourself. So we're going to be doing a commentary track, and Jay, why don't you tell us what we will be watching this evening?
We will be watching an episode of the 60s Batman television series, starring Adam West and Burt Ward, of course, as Batman and Robin, respectively. The episode that I picked is possibly the finest half hour of television that has ever been broadcast in the history of anything.
I had one note I wrote down for this show on this podcast to mention, and it was my goal to bring this up, and you just ripped it right out of my mouth. I was going to say, I do believe this is probably one of the finest episodes of television ever produced.
Well,
I'm glad we're on the same page.
It's common knowledge. I mean, if you've seen this episode, you know. And if you know, you know.
Yeah, and I think, I want to ask Rob why he wanted me to come on this show, but honestly, I literally have watched this episode twice within the past week, not even knowing that I was going to be asked to be on this show. So it's very serendipitous, and I do think that even before Happy Days, I think this episode should have invented the term "jumping the shark."
To the shark, yes.
I mean, to put a somewhat serious note on it. The reason I wanted to pick something from the 60s Batman show is, like a lot of people, this was probably, if not my first exposure to Batman and Robin, it was one of the first things that I ever saw. And we're all varying ages here, but at least somewhat in that born within that time frame where we would at least know what the Adam West, Burt Ward 60s Batman show was growing up through like syndication, seeing it in reruns, just even catchphrases like holy whatever, Batman, just people repeating that. It was just something that was a lot of people's first exposure to Batman. It saved Batman from cancellation in the 60s, even though it had been kind of a, you could say even a black eye on the character in some people's, perception over the decades. It's definitely had a resurgence and renaissance where people have finally realized the brilliance of the show. Right.
And it's not the only show in town. Like, it's one of the many varying interpretations of Batman we have that sits alongside everything else that's going on right now. You know what I mean?
Exactly. It's just another flavor of Batman. I chose this because, like Rob was kind of hinting at, is, there were a lot of other stories, other movies, comics, whatever that I could have picked, but I, was thinking somebody else has probably picked that. But then I thought, what about Batman 66? Like I've said several times now, it's a lot of people's first exposure to Batman. It's become a, staple of the character since, it was on the air. And for better or worse, it's always been a part of the conversation, even to the point that a lot of Batman media and stories were reactionary towards it. It was still influential in that way because, if we didn't have Batman punching a Dayglow Joker with pow coming out of his head or whatever, we probably wouldn't have something like The Dark Knight Returns, Year One, maybe even the comics in the 70s like Strange Apparitions, and certainly wouldn't have the Denny O'Neil and Neil Adams stories that again were kind of reactionary towards it, wanting to make the character take the character seriously again.
Well, yeah, and we saw it repeated on film too when you get to the Burton into the Schumacher movies, and then as a semi-reaction to that, years later we get the Nolan trilogy. It's a cyclical thing.
So it's influential in many ways, introducing people to the character, but also inspiring people to make things that are not it, even though it does what it does, perfectly. Because this is not supposed to be the serious take on Batman. We were all talking, we have, that big, awesome deluxe box set of it. And, there's like the little booklet in there of, Adam West's memories and everything. And he wrote a foreword to it about, his feelings on the show. And I don't have it offhand. It's in my
I remember being
right
Batman.
Now, yeah. But, he said that we knew the show was silly, but we didn't play it that way because kids didn't think it was silly. They thought it was, the most serious thing on earth. Are Batman and Robin actually going to escape from this death trap? So the fact that they played it that way has helped it, stand the test of time. And even though many aspects of it are still dated. I mean, it's very much a 60s show and a product of its time, but it still holds up that you can watch it without, feeling like it's a drag or anything, or feeling like any of the jokes or anything are necessarily of their time, is because they played it straight. And that makes it even funnier when you realize, it's a joke, which makes an episode like the one that we're going to watch here all the funnier because they're playing it like it's the most serious thing on earth, which is hilarious.
Yeah. To answer Ryan's question, I want to say it's probably in a Drake episode way back when. I think when we all got these box sets, I want to say that I subconsciously remember a conversation with you talking about this episode. So in the mix of what I've got going on in my home life and I want to see if Ryan, because I've done these 80th episodes without Terrence and Ryan, not on purpose. It's just, it hasn't worked out because as Ryan knows and Jay, when you have somebody on, you're kind of at the, when the guest says, hey, I can do the show kind of at this time.
It's that's the whole point.
I've done a couple of these on a day off or something like that. I'm like, both Terrence and Ryan are working or know that they had something going on. So when I sat down, I looked at the clock and went, hey, this is when Ryan, probably he's on a BOF podcast. So I almost didn't send it. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to, because I would love to have three of us, talking about this, because in the back of my mind, I'm like, I think he likes this episode for some reason, and I can't remember why. So when you said yes, I was like, sweet. So that was the reason.
Yeah, so it's like I said earlier, it's very serendipitous because I literally have rewatched this specific episode twice in the last week. And since this whole pandemic started, a few years ago when its box set came out, I started to do a full series watch or rewatch because,
Same here.
When this, as a kid, I had only ever really seen the movie and whichever episodes I saw as a kid, and then whichever ones I had seen in reruns. So very sporadic, very not in order. Season 1, season 3, season 2, there were so many episodes I had just never seen before. So a few years ago, I started a rewatch, didn't finish it, but now with the pandemic and everything, I a few months ago, whenever that was, I started the series from the beginning, and I have if you look back on my Twitter at some point, I've got an ongoing tweet thread that goes through my general thoughts on certain episodes and the series in general. But a couple of weeks ago, I did finish a complete series rewatch. So
nice.
So I'm I'm perfectly suited to talk about this because I've actually watched the entire series recently, and I have watched this episode a couple of times already. So I'm ready.
I'm in the middle of season 2. I've done the same thing. Once they got the DVD or the Blu-rays or whatever, and the beautiful box set, I went to all the bonus stuff first, and then started going through. And life happened, and for whatever reason I didn't stop. But I put the little bookmark in there to know, I'm on disc 3 of season 2.
Mm-hmm.
So I've recently restarted. So jumping ahead to disc to season 3, I'm like, I haven't seen a season 3 yet, but I vividly remember being at my aunt's and uncle's and watching this and hearing my uncle go, oh, look at that, Batman knows how to surf. And I was like, yeah,
victory is in the preparation, Batman. Uncle.
That's right. So the three of us are watching this on Vudu, and I just want to say that off mic we had a conversation okay, how all three of us watching this? And I think for a while I'm like, I don't need digital codes, so I wasn't using them. So at some point I woke up and went, we're on trips going somewhere. There's nothing on the hotel room. Mm-hmm. And I thought, if I had digital codes, we could be watching, movies or something in the hotel and not paying $25 to watch a movie, or whatever. So I started digging all my digital codes out, and I forgot that this had one in it. So preparing for the show, I was like, my computer is old enough that it doesn't have a Blu-ray player, it just has a regular CD-ROM. And I'm like, how am I going to watch this? It's got to be on DC Universe. Nope, it's not on DC Universe. And I'm like, a box set like this should have a code, so I'm digging to the bottom of it, wouldn't you know it, there's the code, and I pull the code out, and it says, must redeem code by 11/11/17. And I went, son of a gun. I don't think this is going to work. And I was like, well, I'll go get the laptop, and I'll make a makeshift spot on the computer desk and have a 2-screen thing going on here. And I thought, oh, what the heck? I'm just going to put it in. And then 2 seconds later, it's like, your Voodoo account's been updated. I'm like, seriously?
Nice.
That is awesome. Yeah. So it's nice that I can see it this way. So I think, Ryan, you had something similar too.
Yep.
You didn't use your code.
I didn't use it for years. And then, during this rewatch, I was like, you know what? I've got this box set out, and I'm definitely going to watch the discs, but maybe the code would still work. And sure enough, it did. And I don't know when this episode is going to come out, but since DC Fandom is this weekend, peek behind the curtain, there is like a sale on Vudu. Like the whole series is on sale for like $30 bucks or
$20.
Yeah,
$20.
There you go.
And I almost just thought, oh, screw it. I'll just buy it digitally. That's fine. And that's what made me go, I'm not spending $20. I've got this. I've got the stinking discs. I've got a piece of paper here. Please let it work. So the Bat Gods were listening, and it's working. So that's how the three of us are watching it. I've got it paused.
Have we said what episode we're actually watching?
Oh, no, we haven't. Jay, what episode? Jeez, I'm getting out of the show. Because I really want to watch this.
I don't remember.
I thought I did, but if
Maybe
not, we are watching Season 3, Episode 10, Surf's Up, Joker's Under.
Oh.
Like I said, if you know, you know. And if you don't, you're gonna know, because this episode is just the essence of this television show boiled down into 25 minutes and 9 seconds, according to the Voodoo timestamp.
It is. Episode's so memorable that when they made the action figure line, they made a couple of figures specifically ripped out of this episode.
I have the Funko Pops of Batman.
Oh my gosh, there's Funkos too.
Surfboards.
Yeah, I've got Batman and the Joker from the Mattel line, and they're sitting proudly on the shelf. I'm looking at them right now. Like, Batman's got a surfboard, and it's awesome. And to think, like, it took years, decades for this to come out. So what a great way to celebrate Batman's 80th and now Robin's 80th. So let's get into this. So I'm at the timestamp of 10001. So we'll count down to 3, 1, 2, 3, then press play. So that's how we're going to do it.
Okay.
So if you don't have your Blu-rays handy or your Vudu counter, however you're watching it, pause the show real quick, get lined up to at least to my 1 second. I don't know where everybody else is.
I'm at 0 all the way.
All right.
That's me.
So here we go. 1, 2, 3, play.
Batman in color.
In color. Now, Season 3, there's a few things that make Season 3 interesting, and that is, 1, they introduce Batgirl. Batgirl's in every episode. Mm-hmm. Number 2, the episodes, most of them, have been, instead of the 2-part cliffhangers, they are all pretty much, 1 episode self-contained stories for the most part. And 3, I just lied, because what they do is that each episode actually has continuity. Like, once the main story gets over, they'll do like a little tease of who the next villain is. And so if you watch a couple episodes before this, I think, technically this episode takes place like right after this last, the last villain. So it's like, man, if you watch them in order, you're like, man, Batman's had a long day.
Yeah. So. And also the budget was pretty much
that's the other thing. The budget for Season 3 was slashed. So it's all the more interesting that I think this episode is one of the more impressively budgeted episodes of Season 3. Like, they do out of the ordinary things in this one. Like, they don't
go to a hot dog phone
like a hot dog, like that. But there's like they're on a location, they're at the beach, like they're not just using the Batcave stuff only or whatever. But yeah, here's the big dark room that they just, in every episode in Season 3, they just transform it into something. And you actually see it at the end of Season 2. There's a Joker episode where they just have like a big empty room where they just put props in it, and that just turns into whatever that week's hideout is or whatever.
Yes, so Joker's brilliant plan this time, which we will, find out, so I won't spoil it completely, but he wants this surfboard maker out of the picture so that he himself can become the king of the beach, which is just absolutely incredible.
Well, I see here in a second he's going to say his plan. I'm going to rule the beach and then the world. Like, it is, this whole episode literally is like takes Batman 66 to a microcosm, and it's almost like it knows it's in on the joke of what the show's jokes are. Like, it's almost a meta commentary on tropes that the show has done for the past 2.5 seasons or whatever.
But it's not mean-spirited, it's not talking down, it's still just everybody having a jolly good time because of how goofy and silly it is.
Mm-hmm. Now, I've explained Skip Parker's look here. Is this like a 60s surfboard look with like the holes in the shirt? I don't understand that.
I don't know, maybe he ran afoul
and
of
the
a shark
gas
or something. I don't know.
The magical colored gas that knocks people out. That's a trope you see a whole lot in season 1, and it kind of, you don't see it as much, and then you see it here in season 3.
So there's the Joker's brilliant plan. Is he is going to kidnap Skip here and transfer his surf talent into his own brain, so that yes, he can rule the waves and then the world.
So good.
I just got to say that my wife is a huge fan of the Golden Girls. So you're wondering where this is going to go. Well, and right now I'm just completely blanking on Joker, real actor.
Cesar Romero.
Yes.
Cesar, oh my gosh, Cesar Romero. So I'm watching the Golden Girls.
Oh, do you see the Mad Hatter?
Yeah. Well, no. Watch. Oh, you mean in the intro here?
Oh no! Like on the gold, I'm trying to jump the gun here, but like one of the Golden Girls' fathers was played by the guy that plays the Mad Hatter.
The Mad Hatter.
Yeah.
Well, Sophia is going out on a date, and who does she go on a date with?
Cesar Romero.
Cesar Romero.
That's right.
And I'm like, that's Cesar Romero. And at one point, he laughs during the episode.
Oh
and I was
my gosh!
Holy crap! That's a Joker. So, and his mustache is exactly the same. So I had to throw a little Golden Girls reference in there.
Did either of you guys read the Batman 66 comic series?
Oh, yes. I've got the omnibus on my shelf.
Oh, yeah, me too. I love that the very last issue was pretty much the story of the opening credits.
I have not read it, though. I read a bunch when it was digital first, and then kind of stopped like halfway through. So I got a lot left to read.
Bruce is really going with that red sweater look to match the bat phone there.
Yeah.
I love
and
Chief
Dick's
O'Hara so much.
Surfboard is red.
Hot dog vanished too.
And I just got to say, as a kid watching this, I didn't know what it was about Yvonne Craig, but I loved Yvonne Craig.
I know what it was. Come on.
Yeah, I know exactly what it was. I love the Bat costume.
And I love that they were able to use, stock footage, right, that they shot for the movie and just throw it into episodes like this.
Totally tell that's not Burt Ward.
It's not Burt Ward, it's not Adam West. And the writing is, they've because they can't show it because it's just stock footage, right? So like in the writing they build it in. Let's park it over there, and this is why you're not going to see it in actuality because we can't afford to have it on the beach.
It's a good look for.
And I love this too. Here. Yeah, Gordon and O'Hara have disguises and code names, and they get to not wear their normal attire. Like, it's a very interesting episode because it does break the mold of a lot of your normal Batman 66 tropes.
It would have been funny if Gordon said, "No, I'm Rabbit, not Buzzy," or something like that, just because he gave himself his own nickname.
Why do you get to be that? I want to be that.
Got the band playing on the beach.
Was this like a legit 60s band? I think they get credited in the credits.
I think so.
I should do this in my beard.
Yes, you do, Jay.
Yes.
And just stock footage of surfers,
Yeah.
I always wonder, like, if they turn this camera around, like, what do we see? But surely they've set up on an actual beach. Johnny Green and the Green Men. Is that?
I'm doing some looking
They
here.
have ska band. Playing trumpet. Pretty sure they made action figures out of these looks too.
Oh man,
Gordon O'Hara.
Big Gora. I love O'Hara's glasses. I don't.
Yeah.
I mean, we're into the middle, not in the middle, the first part of this episode, and it took not forever, but took a while to get, Dick and Bruce into the episode. It's been
that's
Barbara.
actually kind of unusual. Sometimes it does pop up in earlier, like I think there's some season 2 episodes where Batman and Robin are like on a camping trip, and you just do not see them for like 2/3 of the episode, like the Shondell episodes or something. It's really strange.
That costume is pure West, everybody.
Pure West.
I didn't have to say I'm Batman. I was Batman.
Like how they're trying to look inconspicuous.
I know.
Yeah.
That's a trope that you see in many episodes. But this is one I remembered as a kid, and it was always pretty memorable. The thing that stuck out to me the most when from not seeing it in years was the sea urchin part that we'll get to later in the episode.
Gordon's idea of speaking in code is telling them exactly what is going on.
They'll never figure it out.
Barbara had to go back, but she told me to watch the girl behind the counter. Wink, wink.
Yeah.
Are you guys aware of the Bat Labels Twitter accounts?
Yes.
Yeah. He does good work.
Yes.
This one's a classic.
This one's rife with it. So like this, what the Joker's doing here is like in Batman 66, one of the tenets of the Joker in this show is that he's like a hypnotist in a earlier in his life, and he's an inventor. Most of his episodes, he has some scheme or invention that does weird stuff. Like in one episode, he stops time. In this one, he's like transferring surfing ability. Like that's not really a comic book thing as much, I think. But that's definitely something they played on a lot in the series. And this is kind of like one of the more wacky ones. And of course, this is the 60s. Like surfing is really blowing up. So they don't always take their time out of in Batman 66 to kind of have like these pop culture commentaries, but this is definitely one of them. And so are the 3 Londinium episodes that they kind of take up in this season, which is pretty ridiculous.
And I just saw a post on, speaking of Twitter, that somebody had zoomed in, I don't know what season it was, into Batman's belt, and to say, look at Batman's belt, those are sponges, and once you know that, you'll never look at Batman's belt the same way again. And I was like, what? And now every time Batman's on screen, I'm looking at his belt going, those are sponges.
All the pouches are upside down, too. Like the clasps are on the bottom.
Yeah. Well, so things can actually slip out of it. I think it's intentional.
I think Adam West has said that they made it to where he would, wear the clasps on the top, but he found it a lot easier to like slide
with the gloves,
batarangs and whatever. Yeah. Just let gravity do all the work.
Yeah.
Wipeout and Riptide.
I love this. Like the most unbelievable thing, like, is that you're going to have 61-year-old Cesar Romero surfing as the Joker versus Adam West's Batman. It's pretty amazing.
I didn't dare call you on my hot dog
Again, because we don't want to show the Batmobile on the set because we can't afford to do it. Of course, it's labeled.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, how would you find it otherwise?
That's a pretty far out label, though.
It won't hurt to needle the hooded has-beens a bit. I just love this. And the shot that happens, they crash through the window, they throw them in one shot, and I think it just cuts, and then they're just stuck perfectly. See, watch this. Boom. It's so good. Oh, and this next line is so good. Well, we're all out of Epsom salts. We just run out of water and have some salt. And now so this doesn't happen in all these season 3 episodes, but this is almost a mid-episode death trap cliffhanger where you're like, and that doesn't always happen in these because they usually get resolved in the same episode.
Yeah. Well, what's that in the back? Is that board spray, light, medium, and heavy?
Yeah.
I'm just looking around at the set. I mean, whether whatever people's thoughts of the show were in its camp and everything. I mean, the Blu-ray and digital, transfers and everything.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
Absolutely gorgeous.
Yeah.
Golly. You pick up so many details.
Yeah. Yeah, you can...
Like the fact that his cowl is actually purple instead of blue.
I remember looking at this when they're getting coated. I remember thinking, you just probably ruined a costume.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I love Desmond Doomsday.
And yeah, they got super flattened.
Catalyzing resin.
Like, by the end of this episode, and you look back on it, you'll be like, they cover a lot of ground in 20 minutes of, location to location, getting turned into surfboards, exploding out of surfboards, transferring people's minds of a surfing competition, and there's a fight in the end, and Batgirl's in the episode, too, because Batgirl has to be in every episode. Like, there's a lot that they do.
Like we said, finest half hour of television ever broadcast.
It is true. Yeah. And there's a movie, Batman the movie callback too later on. Like, they do so many good things.
Let's hit the beach.
Let's hit the beach.
And here, now, this is like the thing. Like, this is Batman acting like Batman. Like, he's one step ahead. Like, this Batman has always been like pretty much a detective first and foremost, and he knows what to expect and always try to stay, one step ahead of the villain that week.
Mm-hmm. Even if it's the most ridiculous thing ever,
right?
Just makes it even better.
But like we were saying in the beginning, they were playing it straight. No matter how cockamamie the puzzle is, Batman can easily figure it out and explains why he figured it out, even if it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. It's like, you watch a movie like Airplane, and like if Leslie Nielsen had played it like knowing it was a joke, it wouldn't have been nearly as funny as him playing it like it was an actual movie. And that's how they play their parts here. They don't like wink at the audience saying, haha, we know this is goofy.
Right.
They're playing it like it's, 100% serious, which sells it and makes it funnier.
Occasionally you do get a look at the camera thing, but it's usually pretty earnest. And the character I think you see it the most often with might even be Commissioner Gordon, in terms of oh, those do-gooders. What will we do without them? And he'll wink at the camera sometimes.
Surely you just...
Oh, no. I take back what I said earlier. They did put the Batmobile out here. I think they do try to save time, though, in these episodes. They just, like you just heard, like, Desmond Doomsday, like, the voiceover guy be like, oh, this is what's happening. We have to talk about things because we don't have time to show everything happening from point A to point B. Whereas in season 1 or 2 episodes, they would have full scenes of like driving from point A to point B or whatever, but they have to kind of just talk over it.
Unless we forget that this show is all about branding. Joker's green surfboard has a picture of the Joker.
The Joker. Well, he's got the Joker mobile in this episode too. The Joker mobile gets used a lot in season 3. You got some Catwoman episodes, yeah. It can't be like a Joker card or something. It's like the
Billionaire Pursuit Reward, Dick Grayson.
That seems specifically correct. I just love how Commissioner Gordon and Chief O'Hare are just kind of idly sitting back in the back, like, yep,
just
that
chilling,
sounds right.
Knowing they look fabs.
I love that line. Put on our baggies. I love it. It's like Western shootout. And Joker looks almost as if like, I wasn't planning on doing that, but I guess we have to.
What do you think's buzzing the Surf Duke? And I love that they put on their
And they're not even drawing attention to it, which just makes it even funnier.
Yeah. Because, I mean, if someone had pointed it out, you know, why are you wearing that over? It would have completely ruined everything. But no, just let it be. And
nope, we got to go wear our baggies. And you know what? This episode, it is interesting. There are quite a few other Joker episodes where Batman, instead of like trying to stop what the Joker's plan is, he'll be like, all right, I'm going to feed into the Joker's plan, but I'm going to do it my way. And this is another one of those examples where he's like, okay, we'll do your little surf competition, but we're going to have people judge it and stuff. So Batman goes through with things to try, and then tries to get the upper hand by manipulating some of the rules.
Because he knows he will be hoisted by his own petard. Because he's Batman and is prepared.
They're just running across the beach, carrying their surfboards.
They're just like, run out there into the water as far as you can get, and then we'll cut to the green screen. Here's the best part of television.
Oh.
Here comes the wave of the day. Brilliant writing.
I should have just had a wave come and wash the makeup off and show full-on Cesar Romero without the makeup. That would have been horrifying. Oh, I love it.
What a kick turn.
You got to just imagine, like, did they just tell him, just do some stuff on here and... It's just these...
Have either of you surfed to vouch for the validity of any of these terms?
I have
we just
not.
assume?
No, I bet these are like popular terms that the kids were using in the 60s.
Charge the swash.
Yeah.
Look there, a shark.
These had to have been popular terms.
Here it is.
The shark, exactly. Eat that, Fonzie. And I love the way he sprays it. It's just like a tss, and that's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
You know that was an Adam West like improv special. Like they probably said, you actually got to spray it, and he's like, no. If I spray it just one little second, it'll be more funny.
Yes.
That's how Batman would do it.
And it is. That's the best part. He just like little bitty spray.
Now they're completely soaked. That's just hilarious.
And technically, Joker won. But technically, Joker did not.
Did you ever notice that when he laughs, he does like the cluck a chicken, like wings when he's laughing half the time?
No. What's funny is, a lot of what people would think of Joker characteristics were actually from the Riddler on the show, the way Frank Gorshin played the character.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And because Joker, I think at the time the series was being broadcast, he was barely in the comics, if at all, because I don't remember who was editing at the time, but whoever was the Batman editor at DC Comics didn't like the Joker, so he just didn't want any more stories with him. So I think he only appeared in like a dozen stories over like 10 years.
Yeah.
And then so there really wasn't much to do with much character for Cesar Romero to base his performance off of. So he just, had fun with it and everything.
Well, yeah, and I think he trusted the writers too. He probably went with the TV show, like I was saying earlier, some of the tropes that they kind of build into the character in the show too.
Yeah, but then you watch like Batman the Animated Series and the way like Mark Hamill plays the Joker. There's a lot more of Frank Gorshin in that than there is Cesar Romero. Mm-hmm. Even though there's some Romero in that too. Mm-hmm. And Batman and Robin are none the wiser that Barbara Gordon is actually
They
Batgirl
never,
in the
yeah,
entire show.
they never come
never
close.
found out. He wiped out Wipeout.
Oh man, I love that double punch that Batman just did.
Yeah.
It's pretty
It's a
boss.
full-on bar fight. And one thing I've noticed, I believe, in season 3 and in the whole series is that now that the show is in HD, you can see how many shots are of, the stunt performers and the actual actors. And it seems like, for the most part, Yvonne Craig is doing most of her stunts. Like,
Yeah.
when
She
you
was
see
in
the
that. She
other,
was
when you
a-
see Batman and Robin stunt doubles, but a lot of times it's actually her. Like, there's a King Tut episode, or an Egghead episode where she has to dance, on her feet, and it's her.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she was a dancer.
Exactly.
so,
I think they probably wrote that into that episode because it's
Well,
like
even that move where they were jumping up on the bar, she almost got taken out by the guy she had to jump over, and that's clearly her.
yeah.
It's crazy that Batgirl was, or at least the Barbara Gordon Batgirl was created in the comics specifically for the TV show.
See, that's another
So-
one of those examples of the TV show actually affecting the history of Batman beyond just being the show.
Would it go Skip or Chip or I already forgot your name.
Skip
You're so
Parker.
boring.
Big aura.
Skip. There we go.
That
Yeah, that's a good line. It only succeeded in transferring the Joker behind bars again.
And I don't know what it is about. I love the office for police headquarters. There's the wood paneling on the door, and I mean they use the set, obviously quite a bit, but
Oh, here we go. And here's the Londinium episodes I talked about earlier. Get ready for,
Yeah.
if you keep watching, get ready for 3 episodes of Season 3 taking place in the Batman 66 equivalent of jolly old London. Yes.
With ever increasing insanity because those episodes
Yeah.
they're great, but they're so weird.
Yeah.
Lord Fog.
And Penelope Pea Soup. Ooh, boy.
Yep.
oh yeah.
Don't become fog bound. Watch the next episode. Cheerio. There we have it, everybody. The finest episode of television to ever be produced. I know I said
Truly.
half hour at the top, but no. I think we can all agree that was the best episode of a television series
Yeah.
to ever hit the air.
Yeah, it's
Yes.
pretty great.
This was a great pick when you said you wanted to do this. You could have said any episode, but in the back of my head I was like, this would be a good one, Jay, pick it. And before I could finish thinking it, I saw the bottom of the text come through and I'm like, yes, many times. Yes.
Maybe not an episode with shame, but
yeah.
anything else would work.
Talk again.
But no-
I think Shame gets 2 episodes in season 3. Like the three between the 3 Londiniums and the 2 Shames. I'm like, I wish we could have got another Riddler or something in there instead.
The Riddler
Or
episode
another
from
Catwoman.
season 3 is pretty great, though. Where
It is
he and,
really good.
He and Batman box. That
Yeah,
one's
it's
awesome.
you only get 1 Riddler in season 3, but it's a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah, like I said, kind of just about why I picked that. It's just, I mean, the show's silly. It knows exactly what it is, but I mean, it's an example of how, I mean, anything could be somebody's first exposure to Batman and Robin, and for a lot of people, that was it for the longest time. And it's just fun to watch. It's still fun to watch to this day, and Burt Ward's incredibly earnest performance is just as charming now as I'm sure it was in the 60s. And, Adam West's deadpan portrayal is just absolutely classic and iconic. And, I mean, it's just, I thought, I mean, Rob, to your point, doing a commentary episode is very little homework. So we didn't have to, we didn't have to read like a big arc or even watch like a, 2-hour movie or anything.
Yeah, I like these.
Just a fun, time, just enjoying something silly, but that's still decidedly and definitively Batman.
And this is, we've kind of said it in varying different ways, but, Ryan's famous for saying, and it's true, Batman's, very malleable.
Oh,
you
yes.
can put him in anything. So we all love the dark and the serious stories. I'm chomping at the bit to read 3 Jokers when it comes out next week. But, doing something like this where you can just kind of sit back and put a smile on your face and go, like, this is Batman too. This is Batman and all of his, pop culture extravaganza. Ryan and I got to see a little piece of that in Bowling Green, see the test costumes at the Batman conference, and everybody was talking about, Batman 66 at different parts of the panels, and you just can't help but, it's just so funny. For a long time, people were like, oh, Batman 66, that's silly. And it's sad that it took, a couple decades for people to come back around and go, you know what? This does belong on the, Mount Rushmore of Batman things, if you will. So what a great pick.
Thanks. Glad you guys enjoyed it.
Yeah.
No, that was a fun time. I glad you were on it, Ryan, and glad you were game for it, Rob.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, before we get out of here, I haven't done these in a while, so let's plug some stuff really quick. I know, Jay, your plugging things have gotten a little less lately, but what do you have going on? If people want to get a hold of you out in the internet universe, where can they find you?
Me and my friend Brian had our show Comics Now. We decided to end that just for a variety of reasons, but it was an amicable, pretty much mutual decision and everything. So sadly, no more Comics Now podcast or website. I'm working on maybe a couple of different ideas about what I want to do going forward with online comics writing and things like that. Like I was telling Rob earlier before another episode of something else that we recorded, I'm in the process of buying a house right now, so that's taken up a lot of time. You can find me just on Twitter and Instagram at JAYAWS. And Rob and I are on, Everyone Loves Young Justice, the sister show, companion show to Everyone Loves the Drake. And I'm just always out and about on various Facebook groups and everything, just always willing to talk about comics. So, you guys can find me there.
Ryan, you got anything going on you like to plug, man?
Yeah, so you can, of course, my Super Mario Brothers, the movie archive stuff is going strong at the moment, so you can follow that over on Twitter at SMB Movie. We've lately had some really cool updates with the work print stuff we found. If you thought the Snyder Cut was big, well, you don't know, because we found an early work print of Super Mario Brothers that has 40 minutes of extra scenes in it.
Oh, dang.
So really 40?
Mm-hmm, yeah,
Super Mario Brothers, the movie, the Red Book cut?
Pretty much, the fungus cut. Yeah. So we've had it digitized and we're restoring it, and so like if you can go on our Twitter and the Super Mario Brothers Movie Archive YouTube channel. We've got some really cool restoration commentaries and snippets of these deleted scenes with context. It's super cool. So you can check that out, and of course follow me on Twitter at SMB_Ryan, and over on Batman on Film. If you can follow the whole Batman podcast network at BatPod Network. By the time this show comes out, we will have our DC fandom recap stuff posted and all that. So I'm sure everybody by then will know what happened. But if you want to hear people talk about it, I'm sure you can check that out too.
Yeah, Saturday is going to be a fun day, and I imagine we're all going to be breaking the internet in some type of form or fashion. My only fear is I hope the whole server doesn't crash with everybody trying to watch this thing. So it's one of those, like, if you're able to get on, stay on, don't log off, So that's going to be something like by the time this comes out, fandom, like Ryan said, is going to have come and gone. But coming up next, depending on how all this is cut together, I think, hopefully, knock on wood, we will be in the middle of Legacy, and I'm working on the formatting for that to hand it over to Ryan to go, here, lead us through Legacy. So hopefully we'll be in the middle of Legacy somewhere by the time this comes out. So this is where we're going to end this episode, folks. On the behalf of Ryan and our special guest, Jay Yaws, you've been listening to Robin, Everyone Loves a Drake, celebrating 80 years of Robin the Boy Wonder. We'll see you guys on the next episode. Take care.